The Paul Leslie Hour, helping people tell their stories. And now, your host, Paul Leslie.
Hey, it's me. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's a great honor to have you with us on this transmission of the Paul Leslie Hour. The man I am about to introduce you to, I'm speaking to for the very first time, but I have seen him in movies and television shows for my entire life. Hechter Ubarry is an actor of stage and screen. He has starred in productions on and off Broadway, and in movies such as Crocodile Dundee 2 and McBain. Hechter Ubarry is also a veteran cabaret performer. His show, Me Papo, is great storytelling and wonderful songs. So, Hechter, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time to talk to me.
Oh, thank you, Paul. The pleasure is all mine. I love to talk about the theater and the movies. It's one of my biggest thrills, you know. I never get tired of it, talking shop, let's say, but I enjoy talking to people who don't know much about it. When I was doing the movie McBain in the Philippines, we shot that in the Philippines. And a fellow actor and I just got into talking about movies. We were in the lobby for 8 hours. Didn't realize time had flown until some of the actors, Christopher Walken, comes in and we're about to have dinner. I said, oh my God, 8 hours nonstop talking because we just got involved with the ins and outs of movie making. So I really enjoy, talking and reminiscing. I've had a wonderful career and I'm still at it. As a matter of fact, I still take, believe it or not, ballet classes. I take ballet classes just to keep my body in shape and aligned so that I'm still standing straight and not bending over, which happens to a lot of people as they get older. And my philosophy is that I'm still hoping to be discovered. I always, people say, my God, other actors tell me, you've had such a career. And I said, yes, but, I'm still not satisfied. I don't know if I ever will be satisfied. I enjoy what I do very much. And that always takes first place in my life, and I'm always happy. I wish I could do more, yes, but we all do. We all like to be, I've been waiting around for a Western, the Comanche Stallion, which was promised to me, but they keep losing their financing. We were supposed to shoot in, anyway, I don't want to bore you with the details on that one. But, I started taking my writing lessons up here in New Jersey. I went across the state to New Jersey. I live in New York City. And I started taking private writing lessons just to be sure that I was really on top of it, even though I had done movies before riding horses. But it doesn't hurt to have a refresher.
A second ago you were mentioning that you do things like ballet. How important is it to take care of your body when you're an actor?
Well, I think ballet is probably one of the best exercises an actor can have. You can think of yourself as doing swashbuckling films. Fencing, I also took fencing, but ballet keeps you aligned. It keeps you straight, and it gives you confidence. It gives you a lot of confidence that you can walk into a room and you can say, here I am present. And no, I'm not going to be a ballet dancer. I've done Broadway shows where I used to be the lead dancer. But those are phases that, you go through in this profession. Being that I'm only 5'6" tall, I knew that they were not going to give me leading men roles on Broadway. So I had to dance. I started, while I was in high school, I went to the High School of Performing Arts, which is better known as like the movie, it's called Fame. They did a movie about it. And I was a drama major. But on the outside, I would go to modern dance classes and ballet classes. So I had a choice of which way to go, and I chose to do drama because it would give me longevity, whereas dancers at one point have to give it up. So ballet, I would say anyone should take ballet classes, even if you're not good. It's great exercises, and it gives you a lot of confidence.
I know that you were born in Puerto Rico, and
Correct.
I know you moved to the United States when you were very young, but do you have any vague recollections of that move?
I do. I do. I don't understand why, but I do. I recall getting into what they used to call station wagons with the luggages on top, and going from Arecibo. Arecibo was where I was born, and that's where they have the famous radio telescope called the observatory. It's one of the largest in the world. And I recall as a little boy with my two sisters and my mother, and taking the van to the airport, getting on the plane, and of course my two sisters were a little bit squeezed, they were throwing up, and I was just taking it all, looking out the window. But I do recall this man taking me into the beach on his shoulders. And I remember panicking in my mind saying, what is he doing? Is he crazy? If he falls, I fall, and there it goes. That's it. I do have those memories. I also have memories of going under what they used to call a faucet, a big faucet in the square. And we used to get in there and just shower because the sun was so hot. Puerto Rico is a very hot sun. And so there are those kind of memories. I remember some other people. And it's amazing because most people that I meet, they said, I don't remember a thing. And I said, well, I have certain memories. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's still part of me.
Tell us about your mother.
My mother used to be a singer in Puerto Rico on the radio stations. And she was a very strong woman. We lost her in 2006. But she was a determined woman. We came to New York. My grandmother paid for us to come to New York City. And I remember I was the chosen child because I was the only male. And I would see her performing here in New York with bands, Latino bands, 4 or 5 instruments, and she would get up there and sing. And I was, of course, a little embarrassed because you don't want to see your mother or father get up there and sing, but they loved her. And I guess I must have gotten the bug from her to sing.
Interesting. So tell us about the kinds of music that you would hear around the house and also just in your part of your neighborhood, your area.
Okay. I came from Harlem, New York, which is basically was on 129th Street, which is called the main part of Harlem, not East Harlem. I lived there for a couple of years, but then we moved into the projects. They're called Projects New York City Housing Authority. And it was a tough neighborhood. There was a lot of gangs around, and people the Puerto Ricans stayed with the Puerto Ricans, and the African Americans would stay with the African Americans. They didn't mix. No one mixed, and it was all like territorial. My friends and I was always singing, so we formed a doo-wop group, doo-wop music. I used to go to the Apollo, where I saw many, many performers singing doo-wop, and of course, my ego was such that I needed to be the lead. So I sang, and they would do the back harmonies. And some of my heroes were Jackie Wilson, Sam Cooke, Frankie Lyman, and the Teenagers. So we were all imitating them. And I would sing, and we would sing at parties. And that's how I got my start, singing doo-wop music. And then later on, I found out about Broadway, and I started singing that kind of music. And I found out that I could, believe it or not, that I could sing opera. So I had a teacher who was pushing me to be at the Met Metropolitan Opera. And I said, come on, it's going to cost me so much money to just do that. But I had a myriad different styles. I could sing rock and roll. I can sing doo-wop. I can sing Broadway music, and I can do classical music. And my thing is, whoever wants to pay me to do what they want me to do, that's what I'll do. I don't put any limits to anything to music. It's particularly music. I'll do it all. Just tell me where's the stage and what's the play and so on. And I'm very enthusiastic, Paul. I still feel like a little boy in a candy store when it comes to performing. I love it all. I dream about it. I never stop. Nothing stops me from performing. The only thing would stop me, of course, an illness, but thank God none of that has happened.
Being that for you, it's an exciting thing. It's something that you love to do. As you said, you're like a kid in a candy store.
Yes.
Have you ever been afraid to face an audience?
Oh, yes. Every performance.
Yeah?
Every performance. Oh, yes, absolutely. It's terrifying. I'll give you an example. A few years back, I was doing the narration. I was the narrator in a musical play. I didn't have to sing, but I'm the first one on the stage. And the audience is waiting. The curtain comes down, and I'm saying backstage, and I said, what did I get myself into? So then I throw myself out, and I turn on a gear in my body, and all of a sudden I'm all smiles and everything, and the audience is right there with me. And I had them going, and I introduced the characters that they were going to see. But yes, to answer your question, I get nervous. I get nervous all the time, but somehow there's something in me that turns it on, because I say to myself, hey, this is your living. You've got to do it. Some people are paid to do construction work, and you're a performer. You go out and do it, and that's it. And I just ignore the nerves, although, you're always nervous. There's just no getting around that. Anybody who gets up in front of an audience is going to be nervous. But me, I just turn on the key and of the car and just go, boom, and I'm on. I'm on. And I recommend that for everyone. Just let the nerves, if you don't have nerves, you're in trouble. Because that means you're not excited, and if you're not excited, the audience is not going to be excited either. They want to see you in danger. As one of my acting teachers says, they want to see you in danger up there. And you know that, given. So go do it.
Who would you say taught you the most about acting?
Well, at the High School of Performing Arts, I had a teacher who just passed away at the age of 96, Michael Howard. Michael Howard, as a matter of fact, I believe he started a theater in Atlanta years ago. I forget the name at the moment, but I could do no wrong. I could do no wrong in class. I was a drama major, and he had me doing Napoleon Bonaparte in a funny play by George Bernard Shaw called The Man of Destiny. And we rehearsed it, and then when the audience, we had to do it for the school. It's the senior project. And then the curtain comes up, and there I am. And so I start the whole thing, and I concentrate, and the audience is laughing, and they're laughing with me, and so on. I said, well, I guess I'm all right then. So that was Michael Howard. And then there was another teacher who, from Performing Arts High School. This is all performing arts related. I learned everything I needed to learn from the high school. And I was taught, I would say well enough that I could take that and use it in my career. As a matter of fact, I graduated in the year 1965. And that same year, I went out to do Bye-Bye Birdie in San Antonio, Texas, with Raul Julia. And then I came back to New York, and I said, okay, now what? There's no work, but what am I going to do? And somebody said, there's a Broadway show that is looking for someone else to go into their show called The Royal Hunt of the Sun. And it's about the Spaniards conquering the Inca Empire. And I said, okay, put me up for it. And I auditioned and I got the part. And so that same year, after graduation in September, I was on Broadway doing what I was taught in high school. I did not, there was no magic bullet or anything like that. I did just what I was taught. And I still do exactly what I was taught. I still think, I put them on my shoulder, like sort of, and I say, what should I do here? And it comes to me. When I went to the audition for Crocodile Dundee 2, my agent calls me, I'm in the health club, and she says, look, they want to see you today. That was the same day. And I said, what? And they said, here's a model. You can pick up the monologues for the audition. And here's the description. The description said, Rico, death in his eyes, wears gold chains. And then I said to myself, well, that's not me. So what am I going to do? So I went home and looked through my closet, shirts and jackets and everything. Then I said, I'm going to do my thing because I know I'm never going to get this role. No one's going to see death in my eyes when I walk in. And so I went in there and I decided to make him a playboy. Like he's going out on the town. And that's what got it for me. So you see, you can create things for yourself that works. And they find it interesting too. And that was that film, Crocodile Dundee 2. 2 weeks later, I was in Australia filming. And of course, the rest is history. I did 19 weeks of work on that film. 2 months in Australia and the rest in New York City. And another example, the McBain we talked about earlier. McBain, I was in Los Angeles and my agent said, you have to come to New York for this audition. And she sent me the monologue. And I said, uh-oh. He talks about sending flowers to this dictator, to this president of the Colombia in the cemetery. So I came back to New York and I flew and I said, I don't have a clue how am I going to do this. But then I said, he sends flowers. I went downstairs to the local flower shop and bought myself a flower. And I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to play with the flower, smell it, caress it, and do the whole monologue that way. Okay? And so then I went back to L.A. where I had left my things. And my agent calls me a day later and she says, I don't know what you did, but they don't want to see anybody else. So you see, in the script, things are given to you what to do. And all you have to do is just run with it or use your imagination. I have a vivid imagination. I could do stuff. I love Greek mythology. There's no stopping any creative stuff that I have in me. I just, you tell me what the play is, I'll create something.
Interesting. A moment ago, you were mentioning how the character of Rico, the drug lord in Crocodile Dundee 2, had death in his eyes.
Yes, that was the description of the character. And he had gold chains hanging from his neck. And then I said, well, that's not me. I don't look like that. I'm too nice a guy, And I said, well, they're going to see right through me. So I just decided, let me just go against what they say in the script, in the description, and just do it like a playboy, like an international playboy, and I'm going on the town. And I got there concentrated with the clothes I selected. I had a little chain, a simple chain with my initial H on it, just to give it a little flavor, not nothing big. And I had a little ring on my finger, pinky ring. And then I said, well, that's about all I'm going to do as far as the chains. And I said, forget about the death in the eyes. That's not me, so it's not going to happen. I said, I'm not going to get this job, so what the heck? I'll just go and do my thing. And if they like it, good. If they don't like it, well, that's too bad. And when I went to the audition, I walk in, and I saw a lot of other actors for the same role. Somebody had a silver tooth that he painted on, a ponytail, and I said, I'm not going to worry about it. They're going to beat me out of the job, one of these guys, but I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to be a playboy. And I used these, and it was 3 pages of dialogue, monologues, you know? And I sat there, and I had a chewing gum, because I figured, well, let me just be a wise guy. and start chewing gum, and I started chewing gum. And at one point, she said something, and it took me one bit of a moment. I was about to spit the gum at the casting director while I'm on camera. They have the camera there. And I thought better about it, and I said, no, that'll kill me. So then I just didn't, but it took the moment. I took that moment to register that I was not happy. And then I chose a laugh that I got from, remember that movie, Kiss of Death? With Victor Mature and Richard Widmark. Richard Widmark was a maniacal killer, and all he did was laugh through the whole film. So I chose to emanate that. You borrow. Jose Ferrer, another actor that I worked with, he said to me, yes, steal from other actors. So I had this little laugh as the character of Rico at the audition, and it intimidated them.
I know the laugh you're talking about, but I'm hoping for the listeners, if you could emulate.
Well, if I say to you, I'm going to see you tonight, right? And that's the kind of laugh it is. And you show your teeth, and you show your personality. And one of the lines in the movie is, I'm going to build an island one day. I'm going to buy an island one day. Hawaii, maybe. And it's one of my trademarks now, the laugh. People say, oh, that laugh of yours was unnerving. And I said, well, good, then I did my job.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I want to keep you off balance. So that was the only thing that I did. And I forgot about the death in the eyes. I said, that's not going to be, because it's not me, and I'm not going to get this job. One of these guys who look like they have death in their eyes is going to get it. And they didn't want to see anybody else.
What I think makes him believable as a bad guy is that, most people who are bad, they're not completely bad. There's something about, Rico kind of had this thing like, hey, I'm not such a bad guy. And that's the thing. Most bad guys tell you they're not bad guys.
Exactly. Exactly. You can kill somebody, and I wouldn't say that in reality, but in acting, you can kill somebody and just smile about it and say, yes. Now, didn't you know that I was going to do this? It's a wonderful world, the theater and acting for me. I get excited every day. I keep thinking. Every time I read a script or something, I think, can I do this? And a lot of times I say no, because it isn't. They're not written that well. It's all in the writing, and they're not written that well. So there isn't much I can do about that. But when they're written well, and I get to memorize them and so on, it's hard to stop me. Whether I get the job or not is something else, but I'll develop that character.
When we were talking about McBain, you were saying that
yes.
You were in the Philippines.
Yes, we shot 3 hours. We flew into Manila, and we had to drive 3 hours into the jungle, because that's where the location was. I had a henchman forget the actor's name, but he played Hans, Hans, and he was British and blue eyes. And then there was Victor Argo. Victor Argo played the president of the country. Victor Argo was also a fellow Puerto Rican actor that I knew very well in New York. And I tell you, I'll give you an anecdote. When I first arrived in the hotel and so on, they said the producers want to see you because they want to measure some suits for your character. So I had to drive. They drove me to 3 hours away just to get measurements and try on the suits that they had made for me. Well, I go downstairs and the driver looks at me. Okay, here we go, my soft face and everything. And he says to me, "Are you one of I played the character Simon Escobar, Simon Escobar." And he says, "Are you one of Escobar's men?" And then I looked at him and I said, and I put on, of course, I went into the character and I said, "I am Escobar. Let's go." It sort of intimidated a little bit. I knew if I go, "Oh yeah, yes I am," and play it like Hechter normally would. I said, no, I wanted to just show dominance and that I was in charge. And because I find that if you go on the set and you go differently than what you audition with, they start having doubts and stuff. So you have to play the character up, and that's what I did. And the guy just opened the door for me. I got in the car, but he thought I was one of the softies and one of the bodyguards. Until I told him, I said, "No, I am Escobar. Now let's go." It's fun. It's play acting,
Mm-hmm.
It's play acting. It's not serious. But in my mind, I figured they're not going to trust you if you go in with something else.
Acting has brought you to a lot of different places, and one of those places would be Atlanta. And I'm hoping you can tell the listeners about that.
Okay. Atlanta, Georgia, in 1976. I was invited there was a musician, John Head. John Head had conducted a production of Man of La Mancha that I was in, and we got along famously. And he was from Atlanta, and he was part of the symphony orchestra, and he was scheduled to be the musical director, conductor of a new musical called Gone with the Wind at the Theater of the Stars. Chris Manos was the producer. And so he calls me one day, and after we had done the show, he says, "Hey, Hector, what are you doing this summer?" I said, "Well, I'm just relaxing, not doing much." He said, "Why don't you come down here and do Gone with the Wind for us?" And I said, "There's nothing in it for me. I look Hispanic. It's just not going to work." He says, "What do you care? Come down here and just get a paycheck and hang out with us." I said, "Okay." So then he set it up with Chris Manos, and Chris says, "Okay, come in." I went in, signed a contract, and then I started doing Gone with the Wind, the musical. And we had David Canary playing Red Butler, and I got the part of a Confederate soldier. And when the flag came down, the Confederate flag came in the middle of the show, comes down, the audience went wild, applauding it and everything. And then I looked to myself and I said, "Oh my God, thank God that I am a Confederate soldier and not the Union in this show." I had fun, and of course I became, as far as I was concerned, I was part of the Confederacy. I didn't think anything else. I didn't think whether it's right or wrong or anything like that. I was a Confederate soldier, and I was proud to be a Confederate soldier. And I kept saying, "The South will rise again." And I had to put on a Southern accent because I had a line with it when I say to Scarlett O'Hara, and I said, "And will you join us in the barbecue?" I'm very good at mimicking, sounds and stuff. I have great ear, And that was that particular production. And then in 1995, I was on a tour of Man of La Mancha, and we played the Fox Theater right there on, I believe it's on Peachtree Street.
That's correct.
Yes, and John Cullum, we were there for 2 weeks. And again, Christopher Manos. Chris Manos was the producer. So I went over to him and I said, "Hey, Chris." He says, "Oh my God, you're back." I said, "Yes, I am." So I have great memories of the Atlanta area. They've always been good to me, and I love the people of Atlanta, Georgia, and it'll always be in my heart, part of my being. I love Atlanta, Georgia, and can't wait to go back, to be invited to go back and do some more playing, some more singing and acting.
You know, the film in particular industry here has grown so much.
I heard, yes.
Yeah.
I heard, but I'd have to go down there. You know, a lot of times they don't like to import actors because that means spending airfare and then per diem and then housing them. It's just, you know, they just try to get local talent, which is fine. You know, I understand that. But I look forward to coming down to Atlanta and working my magic.
Well, on the note of airfare, I know that you're a man who enjoys traveling.
Oh, yes. Yes. I did 2 films in Europe. This you'll find very interesting, Paul. I did 2 films in 1991 and 1994. One was called Operation Polka, which is a French film, Le Gorille, and it was produced by, it was a French and German production. And I played a character named Mario, a killer. And what happens is, I spoke in English. The character, everybody else spoke in their own language. So you had the French, the leading actor was French, and he spoke in French, and I would answer him in English. And the German actress played one of the roles, and she would speak to me in German, and I had to put a knife to her throat at one point. And then I said to her, "Look, would you tell me what the last line she was saying in German so that I'll know when to come in?" And so she told me, and then when she did it, boom, I put the knife right to her and said, "I told you so." And the other film was The Ardent Heart. This was a wonderful film. We shot that in Germany and Mallorca, Spain. And I played a Mexican general called Ruiz Ramirez. And I got to do a Mexican dance with a lovely Dominic Sanda, a wonderful actress. And we became lovers in the film. Again, I had to speak my lines in English, and they spoke their language. She spoke in German, and I spoke in English. I'd also done a play, believe it or not. My first movie was in 1969, The Cross and the Switchblade, with Pat Boone. I don't know if you remember Pat Boone.
Oh, yeah.
But Pat Boone, the director, Don Murray, a famous actor himself, he didn't want to cast me. I auditioned, and he says, "I don't know, you seem so soft and so innocent to be a gang leader." I said, "No, I'm trying." So he gave me the job. And the first day of shooting, the next day, he comes to me and says, I watched you on camera. You are mean." And I said, "Well, thank you for that." You see, though, it's all in your imagination. And if you could bring it out, you've got it made. The problem is if you don't bring it out, then I don't know. It's goodbye.
I know that you've been to Greece and you've been to Cartagena. What would you say is the most remarkable place you've ever been to on Earth?
Well, you know, I've done plays. The King and I have done 3 productions of it. I did a production when I was a young Prince Chulalongkorn. I have photos of that as a young prince. And then later on I did the Crawler Home, which is the ambassador to the king. And I decided I wanted to go to Thailand because I wanted to see the palace what it really is like. I'm one of these actors who believes in when you do a role, I want to see the origins, the real world where the play takes place. The same thing with Greece. I was in Greece last July 17th, and I'm a big mythology buff, and all the Greek gods and everything, and I wanted to see Crete because I wanted to see the labyrinth, where in mythology, that's where they had the bull, the Minotaur. And again, you know, I have such a vivid imagination, Paul. I see these things, and I know it's not real, but however, the part of my imagination takes over. And Greece was a very important part of my life. Cartagena, you know, we landed in Medellin. Medellin used to be a drug haven. I wanted to see Colombia because I've played 2 Colombian drug kingpins in Crocodile Dundee 2 and in McBain. And I sort of felt like I want to see what Colombia's really like. And Medellin was the place where Pablo Escobar, the famous drug cartel leader, he was from there. They even have tours to go and see his haunts, and I decided not to do that. I decided, no, that's a little scary because you never know. You know. But I like to, whatever I perform, I want to see what the real place is like. You know, call it imagination, call it foolishness, but that's who I am, you know. I'm just a creative animal, if you want to put it that way. And I love it all. I lived in London for a while, years ago. Went to Germany. I was going to have a singing career in Germany, and then the money got a little bit was running out, and I said, no, I got to get back home. But I really believe traveling is so eye-opening, and I really recommend it to everyone to travel and see how the other world lives.
Absolutely. Well, I know you have a rehearsal to run to soon.
1 o'clock I have to be there, yes. This is going to be an interesting follow-up to the Me Papo show, because it takes place where Me Papo ended up, you know, because we never touched. We only do the young days when I was in Harlem and going to the Performing Arts High School, but this begins after that. So it'll talk about a little bit of my career after that. People want to know. We never even mentioned Crocodile Dundee 2 in the show or stuff like that, which is the big stuff that I've done. But this time we're going to do new music, and I'm very excited about it. And I look forward. Maybe I'll come down to Atlanta and perform it there.
Maybe. That would be awesome.
Yes. You know, we're open. We're open for business.
Maybe you can tell us about one of the musical numbers that's going to be in this one.
Okay. Well, one of the I'm not going to share the first 2 numbers, but one of them is It All Depends on You. Here was an audition that I went to. I went to an audition. This is true. I went to an audition, and I decided, well, you know, I knew my friend, well, not my friend, but my coworker, Jose Ferrer, who created the role of Cyrano de Bergerac on Broadway, and he got a Tony Award. And then he did the movie, and he got a Tony Award for that. And I figured, well, look, in his honor, I'm going to do a speech from Cyrano de Bergerac, which is the no thank you speech. And I go in there to the casting director, and after I finished the monologue, he says, I've never seen Atahualpa done like this. Atahualpa was the god king in the Royal Hunt of the Sun from Broadway. And because he was looking at my resume, assumed that that's what I had done, that I would audition with. And I said, no, that's not Atahualpa, the Inca god. That's Cyrano, the French poet. And he says, well, I don't know. I would never cast you for that. So my thing is, well, I guess Jose Ferrer was a fluke. and he got the Tony and the Oscar. So we sing this song called "It All Depends on You," meaning, in other words, my career depends on what you do, what you allow me to do. And it's that old song that Al Jolson used to sing. It all depends on you. It's the one that says, I can be happy, I can be sad, I can be good, I can be bad. It all depends on you. I can be, and so on. It's a great number. In it, we'll do some dancing. It's like an audition piece. So you can see all my talents.
Wonderful.
At the end, he'll probably say, I haven't seen the script yet, but he'll probably say, well, okay, thank you. Don't call us. We won't call you.
Oh.
Yes, that's part of the business, but I don't let it stop me. I've had so many rejections. So what? There's always somebody who will say yes. And that's what I count on. The negative people, well, that's their problem, not mine. And I believe when somebody says no, there's another door somewhere along the way that will say yes.
What is the best thing about being Hechter Ubarry?
Well, being Hechter Ubarry is that I like my life. I like what's become of my life. I have no regrets. Yes, I would love to have had the career that John Wayne did, Tyrone Power. I would love to have had that career where the old movie studios were around and they would create your life and everything. But I'm happy with Hechter Ubarry. Hechter Ubarry is there's still a little boy in me called Papo. And my family still calls me Papo. They don't say Hector. And I enjoy my life. I have no regrets, as Edith Piaf said in that song. Je ne regrette. She doesn't regret anything. That's the English translation. And me too. I'm looking around for the next person to, and also I have an advice to your listeners. Take my advice. When anybody asks me about my performance, I say, you know something? I perform in case there's someone out there who's going to discover me. They said, I've done Men of La Mancha for 20-something odd years. I had done that. And they said, don't you get tired? And I said, no, because to me, every night is an opening night. These people have never seen me do this role. And why am I just going to, slack off and just be bored? I said, no, it's a new audience. It's a new beginning every night. Every night is a new performance, and that's my motto. Never be a victim, and just keep moving forward. And I love my audiences, and they seem to like what I do, and it's a happy medium, and it's a great love affair, me and the audience.
I want all the listeners to visit HechterUbarryNYC.com. That's HechterUbarryNYC.com. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and thank you for such an entertaining and informational interview. It's been great.
My pleasure, Paul, and have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in Atlanta someday.
I believe it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Till next time.
Boop, bop, deep, bop, a doodly, keep, bop, doodly, shop, bop, a dinga daka. Ooh, no, I just get up, like a ponton, cook it to be, a zilla baka, pumpkin, don't go, bunch, good look on the good loop, boodly, boom. Goodbye.